The ship was massive, glowing with blue lights as it hovered silently in orbit. Aaron stood on the landing pad, staring up at it with a mix of excitement and nervousness. He was just a backup pilot, a last-minute replacement. The original crew member had fallen sick, and command needed someone fast. He said yes without thinking too much. After all, it was just a supply run, nothing special. Or so he thought. As he walked up the boarding ramp, a tall alien greeted him. Her skin was silver blue, smooth like polished metal. Her eyes glowed faintly purple, and her long hair shimmered like moonlight. She wore a tight black suit with silver lines running down the sides, hugging her shape closely. She smiled, but there was something in her eyes, something playful, like she knew a secret he didn't. "You must be the human pilot," she said, voice smooth and calm. "I'm Lexari, the ship's navigator." "Aaron," he replied, trying to stay focused. "Thanks for the welcome." She leaned in slightly. "It's just the two of us running the cockpit on this trip. I hope you don't mind. Long hours together." He laughed nervously. "No, I'm used to it." As they walked through the narrow halls of the ship, Aaron met a few other crew members, one insectoid engineer, a silent robotic medic, and a bulky reptilian cargo master. None of them talked much. It seemed Lexari was the only one who liked conversation. Or maybe she just liked talking to him. Their first day in hyperspace was quiet. Lexari showed him the navigation system. It was far more advanced than anything he'd flown before. As they sat side by side, she leaned in often, brushing his shoulder accidentally, her voice always just a little too soft. He tried to stay focused on the screens, but he could feel her watching him. During their third shift together, she suddenly asked, "Do humans always stay so distant when alone with a female?" Aaron blinked. "What do you mean?" She smiled. "Just an observation. You seem tense. It's a tight ship," he joked, "not much room to relax." Lexari turned her chair to face him fully. "Then maybe I should teach you how to relax." Before he could respond, the lights flickered. The ship shook slightly. A warning blinked on the screen. One of the external scanners had malfunctioned. Lexari stood up, placing a hand on his shoulder. "Come with me," she said. "You'll need to help me reset it manually." Aaron followed her through the dim halls. The air felt heavier than before, not dangerous, but strange, like the ship was holding its breath. They reached a narrow control panel near the rear engines. Lexari knelt down and opened the panel, her suit stretching across her back and legs. He tried not to look, but it was hard. "Hold the light," she said, handing him a small glowing device. As she worked, she kept glancing back at him, her smile returning. "Most humans are afraid of us," she said. "You're not," Aaron shrugged. "I've served with aliens before, but never one like me," she said quietly. The panel sparked, then powered down. She stood up and turned to him, her face inches away. "There, fixed. But I think we should test it again. In my cabin. That's where I control personal readings." "Wait, isn't that?" She didn't let him finish. She walked past him, hips swaying with purpose, and called out, "Come along, pilot. I'd hate to run the next test without you." He hesitated. He knew this was more than just system maintenance, but curiosity was a powerful thing, and Lexari knew exactly how to use it. Aaron stood outside her cabin, heart beating faster than he wanted to admit. He had been on many ships, worked alongside many aliens, but never had he felt this kind of pressure, the kind that made your skin tingle before anything even happened. The door slid open. Lexari stood in the doorway, her eyes glowing faintly in the low light. She didn't say a word. She simply tilted her head, gave a small smirk, and stepped aside, letting him in. He hesitated, but only for a second. Her cabin was dim, lit only by soft blue lighting from the wall panels. A large star map hovered above her desk, filled with blinking markers and drifting stars. But Aaron's eyes weren't on the map. They were on her. She walked slowly, each step graceful and careful, until she reached the far end of the room. With one smooth motion, she tapped the control on the wall. The door slid shut behind him. Then came the click. Manual lock engaged. "You lock the door," he said, trying to sound casual. She turned to him, her smile playful. But there was something behind it, something deeper. It's just the two of us here, she said softly. No distractions, no noise, no one to interrupt. Aaron tried to swallow the tension rising in his throat. I thought we were doing a system test. We are, she said, walking toward the control panel near her bed. I just prefer my own space for it. Feels more honest. He stepped closer to the star map, trying to focus. This is your personal navigation system. Yes, she answered. These stars, these routes, they don't exist in the ship's public database. Only I know them. Paths passed down from my ancestors' routes, used when we used to sail without technology. Only instinct and trust. That's incredible, he said, genuinely surprised. She stepped closer, brushing her shoulder against his. It's more than incredible, Aaron. It's intimate, like two minds merging. You see, my species believes in shared navigation, in pairs, a bond between the pilot's mental, physical, emotional. Aaron looked at her. Her eyes reflected stars. Her lips curled in a teasing smile. And you invited me here to share that. I invited you here, she whispered, because I saw something in you. Calm, curious, careful. The kind of man who doesn't run the moment a woman closes a door. His voice lowered. That depends on the woman. Lixari laughed, soft and low. She reached to the desk and pulled out a small glowing sphere. This is a memory crystal. It records what we feel when we plot routes. It stores emotions, not just data. Want to see what mine holds? She held the crystal out. Against his better judgment, Aaron touched it instantly. His mind was flooded with warmth, visions of stars passing in silence, of hands touching controls together, of breathing in sync, of hearts beating as one. He saw Lixari, but not as she was now. She looked younger, smiling at another human pilot. The vision shifted. That human vanished. Alone, she reached for the stars again. The crystal dimmed. He pulled his hand back, eyes wide. That was real. It was, she said, her voice now softer. My last bond. Long ago. He promised he would return. He never did. I'm sorry. I'm not, she said, standing closer. Because now you're here. The lights dimmed further. She didn't touch him. Not yet, but the space between them felt heavy with meaning. Aaron stepped back slightly. Lixari, what is this? Are you asking me to replace him? She shook her head. No, I'm asking you to join me, not as a replacement but as yourself, to fly beside me, to trust me, to see if a human and an alien can truly connect again. Not just on the bridge, but in here. She placed a hand on her chest, just over her heart. Aaron looked at her, at the way her skin shimmered like starlight, at the way her presence filled the entire room without force. This wasn't just attraction, this was a calling. He reached for the navigation panel, trying to shift the energy. If we're testing, show me the route you've never shared before. Lixari smiled again, but this time it was different. Warmer. She tapped the screen. A glowing line appeared, a dangerous route through unstable systems, unmapped, unknown. No humans ever flown it, she whispered. He smiled now too. Then, let's chart it together. She stepped beside him, their shoulders touching as she placed her hand over his on the controls. Their breath sensed. In silence, the stars moved, but neither of them noticed, because in that cabin, behind the locked door, something had begun, something not in any database, and neither of them wanted to leave. The next morning, Aaron woke up in his cabin, but his thoughts were still trapped in Lixari's. He couldn't forget the way she looked at him, the way her fingers rested lightly on his hand as they plotted that strange route together. Her scent lingered, soft and sweet like some rare alien flower. He had barely slept. His mind kept spinning. Was it real? Was she just playing a game? Or was she serious about that bond she spoke of? When he entered the control room later, she was already there, sitting in her chair with her legs crossed, fingers dancing across the holographic controls. She didn't turn to greet him. She only smiled without looking, as if she had sensed his presence the moment he stepped in. I updated the course, she said. I thought you'd like to see how close we are to the edge of known space. Aaron sat beside her, trying to hide the way his heart jumped at the sound of her voice. You sleep well? He asked. She finally turned her head. I don't need much sleep when my mind is awake. He stared at the star map floating before them. The glowing route they'd created the night before was still there, winding between dangerous solar storms and abandoned sectors. It shimmered like a path into mystery and something more. I ran the calculations again, Aaron said. That path, it's high risk. No human pilot has ever entered that stretch. I know, she said. That's why I want you with me. He turned to look at her. She met his gaze without hesitation. There's something else I didn't show you last night. She reached under her console and pulled out a metallic case. Inside was a small, old-style data tablet, not holographic, something physical, ancient by space standards. My first bond, she said, before your kind ever landed on my planet. Aaron raised an eyebrow. That long ago, she nodded. He was special, curious like you, brave. He taught me how humans think, how they feel. He called my people unreadable. I thought he was wrong. But now I understand he just didn't stay long enough to learn. She placed the tablet in his hands. On the screen, a video began to play. A younger Lixari stood on a rocky shore. Under two suns, a man clearly human walked up behind her and wrapped his arms around her waist. She laughed, her voice soft and full of life. Then the clip froze. That moment remained, paused, forever caught in light. I kept it, she whispered. Even when the fleet ordered us to erase all human contact history, I didn't forget. Aaron looked at her. Why show me this? She leaned closer, her lips almost brushing his ear. Because I want to create something better, something stronger, something that no rule can erase. The door behind them opened suddenly. It was the insectoid engineer. He didn't speak. His eyes darted between them, his expression unreadable. Lixari's tone changed immediately. What is it? There's a signal, the insectoid said in a metallic voice. Coming from the edge of the Red Veil Nebula. Old tech, possibly human. Aaron's attention snapped back to the map. That nebula's in the Forbidden Zone. The engineer nodded. Exactly why I bring it to you. As the door closed again, silence fell between them. Lixari turned to him, her playful look returning. A human signal. In a place no human should be. Could be a trap, Aaron said, or a message, she replied. A piece of history. Maybe even from one of your lost ships. Aaron hesitated. You want to go there, don't you? She stood and faced him directly. I want to go there with you. Their eyes met. No orders, no rules, just a beings, one human, one alien standing at the edge of the unknown. Aaron looked at the star path again, now branching toward the Red Veil. He reached out, tapped the course approval button, and said, then let's see what history left behind. Later that night, he was reviewing the new route in the nav lounge when the door slid open behind him. He didn't need to turn to know who it was. Lixari walked in wearing something different, a soft, flowing robe instead of her usual tight suit. Her bare feet moved silently across the floor. She stopped behind him, her voice low. You didn't ask me why I keep my cabin so warm. I noticed, he said, glancing back. Our kind prefers heat when we bond, she said simply. It opens our senses. He stood slowly. Are we bonding now? She stepped closer. We already started. The moment you touched that star map, he could feel her presence behind him. Every movement calculated, but not cold. There was care in it. She reached past him and dimmed the lights. Now it was just the two of them again. Only stars blinking outside, and a growing fire between them neither of them wanted to extinguish. Aaron didn't report to the bridge the next morning. He sat alone in the small auxiliary cockpit near the ship's lower hull, watching the Red Veil Nebula grow larger on the front screen. It looked like a storm of blood and fire, a thick, swirling, red mist stretched across the stars, hiding whatever waited behind it. He replayed last night in his mind, every word, every glance, every breath. The way Lixari touched his shoulder, the way she whispered so close he could feel her words on his skin. Nothing had happened, but something had changed. A boundary crossed. A door opened. He needed space to think. But even in silence, her voice echoed in him. A soft beep came from the console. A new message. He tapped the screen. Come to my cabin, it read. There's something I need you to see. Come alone. He sighed, pushed off the chair, and made his way down the narrow, curved corridor. The hum of the engines was louder near her quarters. He reached her door. It slid open automatically. She stood in the middle of the room, holding something round, about the size of a melon, a glowing orb pulsing slowly like a heartbeat. "This," she said quietly, "is why I really brought you here." Aaron stepped inside. The door closed behind him, but she didn't lock it this time. "I don't understand," he said. "It's a navigator's core," she said. "A living record passed down through our generations. It doesn't just store data, it remembers who we are, what we've lost, what we need to find again." She placed the orb in a floating cradle. The lights in the room dimmed, and the orb projected a glowing memory all around them. He was standing in the middle of an alien desert, twin moons overhead. Lixari stood there, younger. Without her usual calm, she was crying, her hands covered in ash. A figure lay before her, burned beyond recognition. "That's him," she whispered. "The first human I bonded with." Aaron turned slowly in the projection, watching her younger self collapse to her knees, screaming into the void. "What happened to him?" he asked. She stepped into the memory like a ghost revisiting a grave. "He followed me into a forbidden sector. We were warned not to map it, but we were reckless. I thought we were invincible. We weren't." The image faded. The room returned to its soft glow. She turned toward Aaron, her eyes no longer playful. "I swore I would never bond again," she said. "But then you arrived, unplanned, unexpected, and everything inside me woke up again." Aaron didn't speak. He didn't know how. She walked closer, standing only inches away now. "I didn't bring you here just to fix systems or fly routes. I brought you here because you carry the same spark he did. That fire I thought had died out in humans." He looked into her eyes and saw the weight she carried beneath her teasing smiles and soft steps. She was grieving and still hoping. "I'm not him," Aaron said. "I know," she replied, reaching up to gently touch his chest. "You're something new, and I want to see what we can become." Before he could respond, a loud alarm echoed through the ship. Both of them froze. Then she ran to her console and tapped the main feed. A red light blinked. Proximity alert. They weren't alone anymore. Another vessel had entered the edge of the nebula. Aaron moved beside her. "Can you identify it?" She shook her head. "It's hiding behind the mist. No transponder. No standard energy signature. Not ours, not yours." A chill crept down Aaron's spine. "Then who?" The ship suddenly shook. Not a hit, just pressure, like a wave had passed through them. Lixari checked the readings. "They're scanning us. Deep scans, into our memory cores, our logs. They're looking for something." Aaron narrowed his eyes. Could they be after the orb? Her silence was answer enough. He turned to her. "You knew someone might come." She nodded slowly. "I hoped we'd get there first." He stepped toward the door. "I'll go prep the main control. If they make a move." She grabbed his arm. "Wait." He turned back. "If we get separated," she said, her voice barely a whisper, "don't run from the red veil, run into it." He stared at her, confused. "That makes no sense." "It will," she said, "if you trust me." Then she reached up, pulled him down slightly, and kissed his forehead. Not lips, not passion, just something soft and ancient. A promise. He left her cabin without looking back, because he knew if he did, he might not leave at all. The ship drifted closer to the Red Veil Nebula, its engines quiet as if the vessel itself feared being noticed. Aaron sat at the front controls now, his fingers brushing the nav pad, eyes fixed on the screen. Nothing was moving, but he felt watched. Whatever had scanned them was still out there waiting. A soft chime echoed. A private message. From Lixari. He opened it. "Come to the bridge." Quietly. He stood, left the pilot station, and walked through the narrow corridor with cautious steps. When he arrived, the bridge was nearly dark, lit only by starlight and the soft glow of the nebula beyond the window. Lixari stood in the center, her body tense, her expression unreadable. "They're following," she said before he could ask, "but not openly. They're using the same slip routes I programmed into our path." "How?" Aaron asked. She turned to him. "Because they were once part of my fleet." His eyes widened. "You're saying this is your own kind?" She nodded. "I broke bond code by keeping the Navigator's core. They believe I betrayed them. Now they want to erase everything connected to it, including me. And you." He clenched his jaw. So we're just targets now. They think we're alone. She said quietly, but they don't know what we're carrying. Erin took a breath. Then maybe it's time to show them. She shook her head. Not yet. Not here. We need to draw them in deeper. He looked out the window. The mist of the red veil glowed like a curtain hiding something monstrous. He turned to her. You still haven't told me what's inside. In the nebula. No, he said. In the orb. What they're afraid of. Lixari hesitated, then stepped closer to him. The orb remembers more than my bond. It remembers the last human who entered this region, a captain named Merrick. His ship vanished, no wreckage, no signal. The orb is fragments of his final message. Erin frowned. That's not possible. That ship was lost 50 years ago. She leaned closer. Not lost, hidden. I think he found something here, something the council didn't want anyone to know. That's why they erased his records. That's why they're chasing us. A tremor passed through the ship's maw, but sharp. Erin turned to the console. They're pushing us, trying to drive us into the nebula. Let them, Lixari said. He looked at her. Are you insane? No, she replied. I'm remembering. She tapped the orb, and it pulsed with a new light. A new route appeared on the map, one that dived straight into the nebula, curved tightly through gravity waves, and vanished behind the red mist. This is his path, she whispered. Merrick's. Erin stared at it. He didn't survive. But he left this behind, she said, because he believed someone would come after him, someone who wouldn't give up. He turned to her. And you think that's us? Her hand reached for his. I know it is. Another shake, stronger this time. The enemy ship was close now. Their own sensors were being jammed. Erin could feel it. He tapped into the emergency signal to the rest of the crew. No response. He looked back at her. Where's everyone else? Lixari's voice was low. They've locked themselves down. They don't care about the mission. They just want to survive. But you don't, Erin said slowly. She looked up at him with calm fire in her eyes. I want to matter. The words hit harder than he expected. Before he could reply, a red alert flashed on the screen. The unknown ship had decloaked just for a second. A sleek, black vessel with curved wings, marked with ancient symbols. Then it vanished again. They're warning us, Erin said. No, Lixari whispered. They're testing our fear. The two stared at each other. Then Erin sat down, placed his hands on the controls, and loaded the path she showed him, ready to chase ghosts. He asked. Lixari moved behind him, her hand on his shoulder. Only if we become legends. The engines roared softly as the ship dipped forward and entered the red veil. Outside the window, stars vanished behind thick crimson clouds. Light twisted, sound bent. The ship trembled but didn't break. As they moved deeper, the controls flickered. Sensors went blind. Artificial gravity shook for a moment, then stabilized. Erin's vision blurred. He blinked and saw Flash's visions. Maybe memories not his own. A human voice echoed faintly from the speaker. This is Merrick. Final log. Don't let them take the core. Erin's hands froze. Lixari tapped the console. We're near it. Near what? She looked at him, serious now. The grave of his ship, and the truth inside it. The mist was alive. It wrapped around the ship like a slow-moving tide, pressing gently on the hull, whispering in vibrations no human ear could hear. Erin kept his hands steady on the controls, his eyes scanning the dim readings. Visibility was almost zero now. The stars were gone. The universe outside had turned blood red. We should have seen wreckage by now, he muttered. Lixari stood beside him, her eyes glowing faintly in the low light. If Merrick crashed, the ship wouldn't still be broadcasting. That signal you heard, it's being amplified by something. Something inside the nebula. He asked. She nodded. Something that doesn't want to be forgotten. Suddenly, a shape flickered on the screen. Faint, big, no engine signature, no lights. There, Erin said, pointing. It was a silhouette, part metal, part stone. Half buried in the nebula's plasma waves, the remains of a warship, human make, but twisted, fused into alien design. One half was marked with Earth's fleet logo. The other half was unknown. That's not possible, he whispered. That's Merrick's ship, but it's been altered. Lixari leaned forward. It's been changed by the nebula. They slowed to a glide, approaching carefully. Then the ship's gravity. Anchor locked automatically. We're being pulled in, Aaron said. Lixari didn't move. Let it. The docking arms extended on their own. A hatch on the side of the ancient ship creaked open. As if it had been waiting for them, the two stepped into suits, sealing their helmets. Aaron could hear his own breathing inside the helmet, louder than the hum of life support. They walked through the connection tunnel and entered the lost ship. The air inside was breathable. WREATHABLE. As they stepped deeper, lights flickered. Undim, old, but functional. The halls were empty, no bodies, no signs of damage, just silence. Lixari spoke through comms. This isn't wreckage, it's a memory. Aaron stopped. What do you mean? This ship isn't dead. It's dreaming. He stared at her. You're saying this ship is alive. No, she said slowly. I'm saying something preserved this moment. Like a scene locked in time. A door opened ahead. They entered what looked like the command center. And in the middle of it was a chair. In that chair sat a man, frozen, silent, eyes open. Aaron stepped forward. The face was old, covered in a thin layer of dust and stasis frost. But the uniform was unmistakable. Captain Merrick. Aaron's chest tightened. He's still here. He never left, Lixari whispered. He stayed to protect what he found. A small device sat in Merrick's lap. A cube with pulsing lights. Aaron picked it up. It vibrated slightly in his palm. A voice activated. If you're hearing this. The voice said, crackling. Then, Earth lied to you. Aaron froze. The message continued. We weren't lost. We were silenced. I found the truth in this nebula. Something the councils buried. The bond between humans and alien navigators. It wasn't a mistake. It was evolution. They feared it, so they ended it. Lixari's voice trembled in the comms. He's talking about my people. The message grew louder. This ship is more than wreckage. It holds the full navigator memory, the original link. If you bond inside this ship, the past returns. But beware, they will come. They always do. The message ended. Aaron looked at her. Is that what you wanted me to find? Lixari nodded. It's what we're meant to become. Not enemies, not strangers. One mind, one path. A new tremor shook the ship. Aaron turned. That wasn't the nebula. No, she said. They've found us. The other ship had arrived, silent and dark, just outside the viewing panel. It hovered like a predator. Suddenly, the lost ship's lights grew brighter. Systems powered on. The old vessel was waking up. Aaron ran back to the command console. It's reacting to us. Lixari stood still. Then we need to give it what it wants. She walked to the old pilot's chair beside Merrick's. She sat down, placing her hand on the control pad. Then she held out her other hand. Aaron hesitated only a second, then took it. As their hands met, the room pulsed. A wave of light passed through the chamber. Memories, voices, images. Aaron saw them all. Hundreds of bond pairs, pilots and navigators, human and alien, flying together, living together, loving together. A history wiped clean, now reborn. The ship's engines hummed. Lixari, he said softly, what are we doing? She gripped his hand tighter. We're becoming what they fear. The old ship came alive. Outside, the enemy vessel charged its weapons. Inside, the bond activated fully. Aaron felt her thoughts. She felt his. There were no more secrets, only connection, only unity. And the storm was about to begin. The ship responded like it had been waiting centuries for their hands. Lights came alive down the walls. The engines of the forgotten vessel hummed with ancient energy. The controls no longer felt cold and dead. They pulsed under Aaron's fingers. Like a heartbeat. He could feel Lixari's thoughts inside his own mind now, not as noise or confusion, but as clarity, like two melodies blending into one song. Her memories flowed into him. Her first flight, her first fear, the crushing loneliness after losing her bond. And he let her feel his own, the ache of always being the replacement, always the second choice, always temporary. But not here, not now. Outside the window, the enemy ship circled like a shark, sleek, black, and armed. It sent a warning pulse. Final demand, surrender the core or be destroyed. Aaron gripped the control pad. If they fire, we won't survive a second hit. Lixari's voice came softly through the link. Then we don't wait for one. The The ship, this ancient, hybrid ghost, seemed to agree. Without a spoken word, it launched forward, faster than any engine Aaron had ever piloted. The nebula around them twisted and opened, revealing a narrow escape path hidden behind layers of plasma. The enemy fired. Energy bolts ripped through the mist, barely missing their tail. One grazed the side alarms, screamed, sparks flew, but they stayed on course. Aaron turned hard left. Lixari rerouted the shield power. Together, without speaking, they moved like one. They're chasing us, Aaron said. They're not giving up. They can't let the truth leave this place, Lixari replied. If we escape, the bond becomes real again. Suddenly, a panel opened on the dashboard, an old manual port containing a glowing blue crystal. Lixari reached forward, pulled it out, and handed it to Aaron. This is the core, she said. Everything they tried to destroy, every memory, every bond, every path erased from our history. He looked down at the fragile glowing shard. If we die, this dies too. She shook her head. No, it lives with you now. The enemy ship, powered up again. Aaron could feel its presence now, like a beast roaring behind him. He clenched the controls. We need a jump. Lixari turned to him. There's one path, unstable, dangerous, but it leads outside the nebula to human space. Then show me, he said. She closed her eyes, tapped into the bond, and fed the coordinates directly into his mind. His eyes widened. That's suicide, he whispered. She reached across, touched his chest. So was loving you. He didn't answer. He didn't need to. He pushed the ship forward, flying into the red storm. The winds howled. Energy fields cracked, time bent, but the ship held strong. Then, just as they reached the edge, something massive moved behind them. The enemy ship fired its final weapon, a direct hit. The ship groaned. Panels exploded. Fire spread. Aaron shouted, "We're not gonna make it." Lixari grabbed his hand. Her voice sharp. You will. She stood up, opened the stasis pod behind them, and slammed the crystal core inside. Then she turned to him. I'm staying. No, he shouted, rising from his seat. But she smiled, even through the smoke and sparks. One must guide the jump manually. This ship listens to me. It always has. He reached for her, but she stepped back. She pressed a switch, and the pod closed around him. No, Lixari, don't. Her voice echoed through the pod's audio system. You made me believe again. That matters more than surviving. The last thing he saw through the glass was her face, calm, proud, glowing in the red light. Then the world flashed. Silence. When Aaron opened his eyes again, he was drifting in orbit above Earth. The escape pod had ejected. The ship was gone. No signal, no trace, just stars. But clutched in his hand, still warm, was the core. And inside it, he felt her, not just memories but her, watching, guiding, still bonded. The rescue crew found him hours later. They asked what happened, where the ship went, where Lixari was. He didn't answer. He just looked out the window at the stars and whispered, she's still flying. Days passed, then weeks. Earth received a single encoded transmission, unknown origin, unknown signal structure. But Aaron knew the voice. It was Lixari. Her words were simple. If you still remember us, then we still exist. And in that moment, humanity remembered everything they were forced to forget, and the bond was reborn.